There's no us without you, so we say thank you. 20 years, started from the bottom, now we are here. 20 years,
There was some German guy that came here. He offered us $5 million to get the building. And we looked at it and we said, no, we're not selling it. And he said, $5 million? No, we're not selling it. All of us were on the same. And there is no division on that issue.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's your dad.
That's the key.
Installation of his legacy, actually.
Yeah. He drummed it into us.
Yeah. No, I can see you're still trembling a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, never sell.
Never. It didn't matter what you're talking about. He would always throw that in there. So, last night, Manchester United won, but never sell civil.
Good morning and happy Saturday, cold Saturday. Today I have with me in the studio Chitambala Mwewa, otherwise known as Simon Mwewa Lane. Somehow I prefer to call him Chitambala because it feels unique. But he's with us today, awesome businessman, digital content producer, influencer, socialist, activist, all in our CBD in the center of Lusaka, street conversationist, and brings a lot to the table. And I'm so excited to have him here because you know what? He's also going to teach me a couple of words, how to pronounce them. He's already taught me how to pronounce his name because I said Chitambala, it's Chitambala. So that's a great start already. So I'm really excited to have some teachings on the platform. And I'd like to welcome you to the morning. How are you?
Very well, and thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of the show. I watch it all the time.
We watch you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, we love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the name, everyone knows you by Simon Mwewa Lane, which comes from your dad, I guess. But how have you created this name, this brand? How did it all start? Because first of all, you're in the States, and I want to know that story. What then happened, and how did you land here?
By plane. Well, all the way back to the beginning, Simon Mwewa Lane is the name of the street.
Right.
That Simoson is located on.
That's right.
Right.
And named after?
My late father.
Your late father. And at the time it was a lane, but it's like...
It was it was a nameless street.
Yeah.
What used to happen was, many years ago, about 20 years ago, we used to pay Mokobeko prison.
Yeah.
$1 million kwacha per month in those days. $1 million in those days, not $1 million now.
Yeah.
And they used to come through every week to sweep the street. And we did it because, that's where we work, that's where we spend our working life.
So the prisoners would come to clean?
Right, every week, but we pay them monthly. And after a few years, we wrote to the council and we said, look, this street doesn't have a name. It would be befitting if you named it after my late father, because not only was he Lusaka mayor, he served as governor, and really he opened the commerce, the business side of things in that part of town. And we thought that it would be a good idea for the council, and they agreed, and they honored us by it was Mayor Chikwelete at the time who actually approved that, and he came and he officially unveiled it as Simon Mwewa Lane. So that's where the name came from.
Try having a road named after you today.
I would imagine it's a bit of a steep climb, but in those days I think the council saw the sense in it, and we were very grateful for that. And fast forward to a few years later, it was during COVID actually, 2017, when the government at that time shut down the CBD.
Yes.
Lots of people don't realize that there was a time that the CBD, namely Lumumba Road, was literally shut down. Nobody could go in, nobody could go out.
So probably people don't recognize that or remember that it was shut down because nobody went there.
Yes, and the reason it was shut down because of cholera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was one of the only ones that was actually filming the street as the army came through to clear the entire street. And I remember asking an army officer permission to record. And he says, you can record, but don't show our faces. And I realized in that moment, because I'll do these live videos.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And then all of a sudden, I noticed there were 3,000 to 4,000 people watching. And at that time, my page was, I think I only had like 7,000 people on there as followers. But, you know, 5,000 people, and I was shocked. I thought, where are these people coming from? And I realized the reason they were tuning in was because not even ZNBC was coming to the CBD.
Right.
Everybody was shut out.
Yeah.
And that's where the traction for the page came from. But the inspiration, to answer your question, the inspiration behind the name was, I know you know the Beatles.
Of course.
Right. There's a very famous album cover of the Beatles crossing a street in England called Abbey Road.
Yeah, I've been there, yes.
You know Abbey Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired me. Because, you know, if you go to England, you ask anyone, where is Abbey Road? Chances are they'll tell you.
Yeah.
So my line of logic was create this persona around this street to where people instantly know, where is Simon Mwewa Lane? Oh, it's over there. Yeah.
Got it. Well, we've come back to understand where the CBD is, where Simon Mwewa Lane is, and thank you for bringing that back. But I still want to go back to how you came to being back in Zambia.
From the States.
From the States.
Well, it's a long story. But
We're here.
yeah, and that's why we're here. Here it is. In August of 1989, I went to Louisiana, Baton Rouge, the capital city of Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I studied theology there.
I know, yes.
And I was there for about 4 years in college. I graduated, and I decided at that time to possibly live there, and I was going to possibly raise a family there.
So, theology again, I need to understand that. Why?
At the time, that's what I felt called to do. And I remember the conversation I had, and I've shared this story many times, but my father, when I graduated from secondary school, my father wanted me to be a lawyer. That was his thing.
Everyone at these days.
Yeah.
Lawyer,
And,
doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he finally sat down with me to have a conversation about what the next step will be, I'll never forget that conversation. He said, okay, son, so you need to tell me, what's the plan? What do you want to do? And he knew, he sort of knew from the time I was about 16, he could see that was where I was going, but he just wanted to know where my headspace was. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to study theology. He said, where do you want to go? I said, Louisiana. And I told him the school. It was Jimmy Swaggart Bible College.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I haven't heard that name forever.
Yeah, but you remember Jimmy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and he was my mentor, and I love him so
No.
much. He still is my mentor. And
Wow.
yeah, well, it's true. And I remember my father saying to me, are you sure you want to go there? Why don't we do this? Why don't I send you to England, you study law, you do law, and then you go to America and do that.
Did you agree that?
I said, no, Dad, this is what I want to do. And you know, my father, my parents they were such practical people. And my dad looked at my mother and said, the boy doesn't want to go. What do we do? My mother said, just let him do what he needs to do. If he wants to do that later on, he can do it. So I went, and I loved every day of it. It was like a dream come true. I loved it. I spent 4 years on this college campus that was really my home for 4 years. And when I was done, at the end of it, I had this idea of permanently being there. You know, I wanted to
But I need to still, no.
Go ahead.
No, need to capture this. So, the way that you speak, is it taught? Because there is a way of pastoral speech. Is it taught? Or
Yes, they teach you that.
So-
They teach you how to speak.
They must do.
Yes, they do.
Because you have to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I would love to be in the room for that.
Yeah, they do, and I loved it there. It was such a great institution, and of course, you know, people have their own feelings about Jimmy Swaggart.
Of course.
And that's normal. But as far as I'm concerned, I loved being there. I learned so much there, and it was such a great family to be with. And but you know, life being what it is.
How many Africans were there?
I was the only one African.
Right.
I was the only one.
Yeah.
African. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Of course, I would imagine now it's changed. In fact, funny you asked that. In Louisiana, in the because I was there from '89 to about '94 total.
Right.
Close to '95. I only ever met one Zambian who was going to. He was attending. Him and his wife were attending Louisiana State University. And in those days, in the 80s, I could never find a Zambian community.
No.
You know, they were the only couple I knew.
Yeah.
You go to Louisiana now, or any part of the States, there are huge Zambian communities. And just to give you a perspective, I had gone through 4 years. The only time I spoke my language was when I'd call my parents, because there was no one to speak my language with. But when I first came, after 4 years, my father wanted me to come home to be with the family before I went back to the States. And I was at an airport in London coming home, and I heard these two Zambians walking past me, speaking Bemba, and I just ran up to them and I hugged them. Because I hadn't heard Bemba in 4 years. and they were shocked. They said, "Who are you?" I said, "Hey, listen, man, I just love the fact that you're speaking Bemba." I hadn't spoken to anyone in Bemba.
That's incredible.
And it was wonderful. And I came, and then my dad said to me, "Well, you're done, and what do you want to do?" I said, "You know, I really want to go back and possibly live there. And I wanted to have a family there." And at the time...
Was he mayor at the time?
No. This was many years later.
Okay.
Yeah, he was mayor in 1979,
Ah, yeah, okay.
1980, yeah.
Right.
And so I went back. Now, here's the problem. When I went back to the States, I didn't do all of my paperwork correctly. And I'll tell you a story that many people don't believe. When I got to New York City, the immigration guy, he looked at my document and he said, "Your visa's expired. You need to fix this." And at the time, I don't know why, he decided to call the school, the institution, and they wanted to verify if I was really part of the school. And the school verified, said, "No, he's one of us." Now, this was 1989. This would never happen today.
No. Today, no.
This would never happen today.
Of course not.
Okay. And
made a call.
Yeah.
And then he's one of us.
Yeah, they let me through. But the immigration guy said to me, "You need to sort this out.
Fix it."
Yeah, fix it, or this is going to give you a problem."
Yeah.
Well, later, and I just took it for granted. Oh, I'll get to it. Well, we were in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'll never forget it. You know, it was, and for years I walked around with this shame. Shreveport, Louisiana, and I was trying to use my card, and the card declined. The owner of the business, instead of just saying, "Look, sort this out," he got nervous. He just called the police. This card declined. The police immediately asked me, "So where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Zambia." "Can we see your passport?" Something that in those days, it wasn't common. I mean, in America, people don't just ask you for your passport.
Well, you just don't move around with it.
Yeah, well, you know.
Now you do.
Well, I did. I had it. And the moment he looked at it, he said, "I think your visa's expired, and we're going to hand you over to immigration." That was the beginning of bedlam. And the guy said to me, "Well, you're here illegally, and you need to go back." And of course, now, this was 2 years after I had returned. Okay.
And
this happened 2 years after.
Let it ride, and I'll get back to it.
And I kept on putting it off. And the lesson I learned was, you know, you think you've got it all together. You take it for granted that, "Look, I'll sort out the documents." As an illegal immigrant, if you don't dot all if you don't sort of cross all the T's and dot all the I's, then you run into that type of problem. And I did. And when they sent me back, that was one of the most shameful experiences of my life.
How do they send you back?
Well, they hold you, first of all, and when they deport you...
But hold you where?
There's a holding. I was in Caddo Parish. There's a place called Caddo Parish where they hold illegal immigrants. I was there for a couple of weeks.
And these are what we're hearing about now, where, like, you know, with
the raids.
with what's happening in Europe, well, not even in the States, like even in Europe, where they're like, no, immigrants are being held in this building or in this part, and like immigrant hotels, they're calling them. So it's something like that.
No, I wasn't in a hotel. It was a holding cell, a holding facility for illegal immigrants.
Right.
Yeah, and there were many people there. There were Spanish people there, people from Mexico, and all types of people. And then they just literally send you home. And they just woke me up one morning and said, okay, you're going back home. And they assigned me 2 officers, 2 immigration officers. So we flew from Shreveport, Louisiana to New York City, from New York City to London. They go with you.
No!
They want to make sure you go to your country.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, there are 2 officers.
Then London, they know the plane's going direct.
Directly to Zambia.
Oh my goodness.
So in London, then they give you
Hand you over.
your documents, and they say, sign on. And they tell you, they say, look, this is not, this doesn't mean you can never return to the States. It just simply means if you want to come back, follow the rules. And they're very serious about this. I mean, we're seeing what's going on now with Donald Trump and the raids. And there are people who have been in America for years.
Absolutely.
Who are not properly documented.
Yeah.
And they're going through the hell that I went through.
Yeah. But probably a lot of those are knowingly illegal. Not
Even I was
knowingly
knowingly illegal.
You just
I just took it for granted that I'll sort it out.
Yeah.
But it cost me. But the plane ride, I'll tell you how shameful I felt. The plane ride coming home, I was just envisioning the disappointment on my father's face.
Did they know you were coming back?
At the time, they weren't aware. And that's a good question. I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked that. I was so ashamed to tell them that this has happened, but I knew I had to face it.
Yeah.
When I landed, and I got a taxi from the airport to home, my mother was so shocked to see me, but she just embraced me,
you, yeah.
and she hugged me. She said, "You're back. What happened?" And I explained it, and she was so disappointed, but she was so relieved I was home. My father, whom I was so afraid to disappoint, only had nothing but encouragement for me.
That's amazing.
He said, "Son, look, you messed up. It's okay. We pick up the pieces." And I'll be honest with you, in a way, I'm very thankful, because had I lived in America, which is what my plan was, had I raised a family in America, I wouldn't have the sense of mind that I have now.
Of course not.
I'm so happy being here.
Look at what you've done. Look at what you've discovered, what you've helped us discover. You definitely wouldn't have been the same person today.
I believe that, and I'm happier here. No diss to America. I love America,
Yeah.
but I love Zambia more.
And I think, in hindsight, if you were there now, it would be a very different place, space for
absolutely,
Yeah.
and also family-wise, because that's one of the things I really wanted was a Zambian family. Nothing against Americans, but I just felt I didn't want one foot here and one foot there with children and all that. So I'm glad that.
Well, you see, some of these things happen for very good reasons.
Absolutely.
So you came back and you were determined to now carry on with your vocation as a pastor?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. I went into a completely different direction. I went into the family business.
Well,
Yeah.
as you probably, as most people do.
But I still don't regret doing the course.
Yeah.
I loved it, because I think the course made me, in a sense, who I am today. And for years, I used to struggle with that. I used to struggle with, trying to reconcile why I decided to go and then not end up doing what I went up.
But so many people are in that space, and for good reason, where you might study something
and you do something else.
and you do something else. But maybe for you, you were maybe torn with the fact that you really had to persuade your parents that this is what you wanted to do when they wanted you to do something else. Maybe that's where you might have been a little bit torn.
Yeah,
but there's so many people that study one thing and we all do something else. I think that the studying or it's not about what you study, it's about the process and what you go through in those 3-4 years. I tell my son this as well. I said, you can study whatever you want. It's studying university teaches you teaches you to live with other people, understand other cultures, be able to communicate in other worlds, and not necessarily, become that engineer. It's about teaches you to live. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So tell me what then happened. You decided, I'm going to try this, went into the family business.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did.
Simmerson?
Yes. Well, Simmerson group of companies.
Yes,
We have
okay.
several portfolios.
We know the Simmerson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we went into that, and then a short time after that, for a few years later, my father passed away. And then we sort of, as a family, stepped up to the plate and drive the business forward, and that's where we are now.
And how many of you are there?
7, although one passed away.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm the oldest, or
Okay.
the eldest.
I can feel that.
Right. And my mother's still alive, though, and my brothers and sisters are still alive. Over here in Lusaka, Zambia, it's only the 4 of us. It's myself, my 2 brothers, and 1 sister.
Okay.
And yeah.
And then, look, my memories of Simmerson.
1 sister here, 2 sisters in England. Because they're going to watch this and going to say, but you didn't mention us.
He's mentioned you. So my memories of Simmerson were having to have my hair braided there.
Right.
And being dumped there at 9, because you're going back to school. Kaluke Mishishi. Yeah. You're dumped there in some dodgy place.
I love that.
And
I love
I'm
that
like,
description.
And then
Some dingy place.
and then it's like the whole day, they're tugging at it,
Right.
tugging at it here. You cannot go to the loo, forget. And they bring you, I don't know, if you got chicken and chips, what, cheap pie, because you're there for like,
Not a pie, cheap pie.
and then sometimes you have to go back because they haven't finished. It was just grueling.
I know.
So I hated that building.
What year was that?
Oh my gosh, this was
Because
in the
that must
80s.
have been, yeah.
80s.
Well, Simmerson opened in 87. That should have been 88, 89,
Exactly.
maybe
It was,
90.
look, it was still the new thing.
Yeah.
Because now, this is where you braided your hair.
Right.
But I was traumatized.
Yeah.
So I really
I'm
need
so
to.
sorry.
No, I need to come back and just, go through the process and
Yeah.
make
Well,
peace.
we no longer have salons there. Well, there's one salon there.
I have to make peace.
But in those days, you have to make peace. In those days, we had different sorts of business. There
I
were
know.
boutiques there.
Yes.
Now it's a whole different. The building is now known for electronics, spare parts, and slot machines. Yeah.
And that slot machine must be that's a really interesting business. It's doing something.
Well, they trade. We've got Bolabet there. They rent space there.
Right.
We have many different businesses there, but not the types of businesses that were there when you were there. Yeah. Over the years, it's evolved.
I hope so.
It has. It's
well done,
evolved.
though.
Well, we're trying.
There's no us without you, so we say thank you.
20 years, started from the bottom, now we are here. 20 years, Wafika, 20 years, Dafika, 20 years.
So now the business at Simmerson is evolved, and I'm really glad it has. Look, it's one of the. I know there are other parts of the family business or the Simmerson business, but we all know the main building. But
Right.
to have survived so many years is a really fantastic effort, and
Absolutely.
obviously driven by the family. Even a family business, believe me, most people by now would have just said, "We're not handling it, we're selling it." But
Which is-
to have stuck in there is incredible.
Well, I tell you now, and this is something that I constantly talk about, is that in the 80s, there were about 8 or 9 black Zambian families that owned buildings along that street. Now, I'm the only one. We're the only ones. Everybody else
Sold
is
out.
Indian, Chinese,
Yeah.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
And the Zambians that are there are street vendors and marketeers. And it's not right. We're living in the CBD where most of the commercial property is foreign owned.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with foreigners, but it really sort of irks me when I see very few black, I mean, literally, you can count them on 2 fingers. The number of commercial properties owned by black indigenous Zambians.
But how did you do that? How did you, as a family, how did you manage to keep things going, stick with the program, and really succeed?
I love that question. It's all my dad. My father used to, when we were kids, no, it didn't matter where we were. I mean, I could be sitting down talking to my dad about football, and in mid-stride, he would look at me and say, by the way, never sell Simoson. My father and I could be talking about, what we ate in some restaurant that he loved, some dish that he loved.
Yeah.
In mid-stride, he would say, oh, and by the way, never sell Simoson. He drilled it into our heads, and all of us, not just me.
Yeah.
So there was no question about, offloading the property when my father passed away. In fact, my brothers and sisters and I, we are, as far as being on the same page, that's the one thing we're all on the same page about.
That's the key.
That is the key.
That's the key.
In fact, I mean, over the years, I'll tell you now, we've had many people offer us. There was some German guy that came here. He offered us $5 million to get the building. And we looked at him and said, no, we're not selling it. And he said, $5 million? No, we're not selling it. All of us were on the same, and there is no division on that issue.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's your dad.
That's the key.
Installation of his legacy, actually.
Yeah. He drummed it into us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can see you're still trembling a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, never sell.
Never. It didn't matter what you're talking about. He would always throw that in there. So, last night, Manchester United won, but never sell Citizen.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I hope you're drilling it into your kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. All of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's amusing is that I hear people on social media always say to me, you, Mwewa, if it wasn't for your father, you would be just a street vendor.
There you go.
Just jump. And I say to them, look.
I probably would, yeah.
No, I wouldn't say. What I say to them is that, because they have this idea that it's only Simoson.
Yeah.
It's not my business to start going on social media and unveiling my portfolio just for the sake of appeasing people. Yeah. The reason Simoson is front and center is not only do I want to promote the businesses there, I want to create a brand around that business.
You have.
Yeah.
And
that's the goal.
Yes.
But people misunderstand that. If it wasn't for Simoson, you would have been just a street child, somewhere.
Well, you've created a brand around it, and hence the story about the, Simon Mwewa Lane, because you had there's a thought process behind it.
Yeah.
Meaning there must also have been a thought process when you started your conversations and your podcasts.
Yes.
What kicked that off?
Yeah.
You've told me that it was when there was cholera, you were videoing and sort of seeing this traction of attention and comments, and then it grew into?
Yeah. Well, the original idea was to show life in and around Simoson within the CBD. In a sense, like a video diary. My idea was, 50 years from now, when I'm no longer here, people will watch these videos and they will say, oh, so that's how they lived on this street.
Yeah.
That's how they dressed. Those are the types of conversations they had. That's the idea. Now, unfortunately, I live in a country, of course this idea is evolving now, but I live and I work around people. I am surrounded by imbeciles. Surrounded by imbeciles. Why I say this is because every time I walk around with a camera, why are you photographing you? Eh? Why are you? And I keep saying to them, guys, this is a video diary. This is going to show people that are not here now, that are going to be here even 100 years from now, that are going to look back and say, wow, this is how
But they must be used to you now.
They are now.
Or you always find a new guy.
Yeah. No, they are now, but
Yeah.
in the beginning it was very difficult because they just couldn't wrap their brain around that. It was just something they just could not grasp.
So now they also know, because they've also been watching, so they're also followers.
Yes.
And they also know, oh, actually, he's promoting Simulson in their eyes.
And the area.
And the area.
Yeah, and now we also because as you know, there's a market that was recently opened,
Yes.
which was named after my late father as well. It's called the Simon Mwewa Lane Market. Even that, we sort of asked the government. The original name of the market was Lumumba Road Market. Before they even broke ground, they had already decided on a name. And I'll never forget when then Vice President Inongawina, she came to break ground. And I was standing on the property after everybody left, after the ceremony, the groundbreaking ceremony. I was standing on the property. Nothing had been built there. It was just a piece of land.
Yeah.
And I was standing with the district commissioner, the DC of Lusaka at the time, Captain Malenga. And I asked him, I said, so why did you guys name this thing Lumumba Road Market? And jokingly, half-wittedly, he said, what do you want us to name it, after your dad? I said, that would be a great idea. And let me tell you why. Because if you say Lumumba Road Market, Lumumba Road is such a long stretch of road.
Yeah.
If you say
You don't know
Lumumba
where
Road, do you mean Lumumba Road, Dooley Motors, Family 24, Auto World, further down? He says, okay, I'll tell you what you do. Put it in writing and copy everybody. Send me a copy, send the TC, write the mayor, write local government, write everybody. So I did. As soon as I left there, I went straight to my office, typed the letter, boom, sent it out. 6 months later, I was walking into a barber shop, and Vincent Mwale was the local minister the minister of local government at the time. It was in those days. It was called the minister of local government and housing. It's now local government and rural development.
Gosh,
So
okay.
I was walking into a barber shop on number 3 Chaholi Road. Walking in, he was walking out. The moment he saw me, he said, Simon Mwewa, I know what you're going to ask me. I already saw your letter. It's under review. No promises. We'll let you know. I said, okay. The very next day, I get a letter from Lusaka City Council. We have decided to name the market after your father in light of the contribution that he made to this community. And they named. Now, the problem was, when it was announced that it was now Simon Mwewa Lane Market, this was during the PF. I had always had difficulties with the PF cadres. They never liked me and I never liked them. So the moment they heard that the market was named after, oh my goodness, all of hell broke loose. They went to Vincent Mwale and they said, how the hell can you name it that? This guy, if you name it that, this guy is going to be walking into the market, kicking tables and saying, "Iri market yaratata we laugh, but I'm telling you, that's how they thought. Vincent Mwale had to explain to them that, look, it's just a name after his father. He doesn't own the building. No! They had to convince them. So even now, I mean, recently you heard that I was stoned by the marketeers. Still, there is a remnant of that thought. The reason I was stoned was simply because I was saying, look, let's have a clear, open passage in the market where people can freely walk through. Don't block the corridors and the entrances and the drainage systems. That is what got me stoned. And while they were stoning me, they were saying, that's why Tatulefuachi market wachinika Simon Mwewa. Yeah, so it's a constant battle. Yeah.
But how do you manage the battle, and why are you still battling it?
The truth is, it's because I feel that like I'm honoring my father. And I feel him. I really do. I sense him. And that's what keeps me going. Sometimes it's discouraging. Like this morning, I was lamenting this morning about, sometimes you feel like you're doing things all by yourself.
Yes.
And there's no assistance from local government or the Lusaka City Council in terms of cleanliness of the street. I mean, I personally pay people to sweep that street. It shouldn't be my job. I should not be doing that.
I feel a bit
But
like,
I do.
I feel a bit like you'd never run for mayor, I'm sure. But I feel like a mayor in the CBD.
Well, thank you for saying that. The issue of mayor, for me, I feel, and I'm flattered when people say that, but the truth is, for me, I don't think it's always necessary to attain a political position
Yeah.
to achieve a communal goal. You can do it that way, and if that's your goal and that's your desire, that's fine. You know, you're fine to do that, to run for mayor. But I don't think that it's imperative to be mayor to bring change to your community. I believe that community organizes.
Well, you've made change.
Yeah, well, you know, to a degree.
Is your mother proud of you?
She says she is, and I believe her.
Yeah.
You know, she is, and you know, so our goal is just to be members of a community that functions.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, our goal has always been misunderstood because, you know, one of the things the street vendors always say to me, or traders, and I constantly battle this. I face this every day. I've been facing it for years.
Yeah.
Is you are rich, we're poor. We're trying to make a living on the street, and you are blocking that goal. That's not it. You've missed the point. The reason I don't want you to be on the street, I want you to be in the markets, because in the markets you have access to shelter, clean water, toilets. You pay your stipend to the council. You pay a rent to the council that the council uses to fix roads, lights. You become an economic participant. On the street, you are nothing. You are a liability on the street. My people don't see it that way. They simply don't. You can explain it from here till kingdom come. They will never see it. And everything is shrouded and covered in, no, you're rich, we're poor. You're taking advantage of us. And it's never about that. Never. And nobody, not me, not my siblings, not a single person ever walks around, I'm rich.
Yeah.
No.
It's not even that. I mean,
we've come to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure no one looks at it as, you know what, I work as hard as you do.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. If you say that to them, oh, they'll cuss you out. They will swear at you if you say, I work just as hard as you do. Because when I go to work, I'm there at 7:30. I work, I do my thing, my videos, I do my Simonson work, I balance everything out. I leave at 18:30. I don't sit at home waiting for rent. I mean, I could do that, but I don't do that. Why? Because I know that I have to be part of this community.
Yeah, you have a responsibility
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
My wife, we've been married now 25 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
and
obviously you met her when you were
we were
now-
in school. We went to the same school.
when you were in Zambia?
Yeah, here in Zambia. In fact, my wife and the current mayor of Lusaka, Chitambala, she's my niece.
Right.
Yeah, Chilando is my niece. My wife, Chilando Chitambala, who's the mayor of Lusaka, and myself were in the same class.
No way.
Yes. But in those days, my wife was just a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And our families, her family and my family, they knew each other. And when I came back from the States, when I started feeling this need to be married, and I must tell you, that was one of the scariest parts of my life, because I never wanted to make a mistake. You know, you always have this idea that what if
A mistake in marriage or just a mistake?
No, a mistake in marrying the wrong person.
Right.
Yeah. I had two fears when I was younger. The first fear was, will I marry the right person? Second fear was, will I be able to have children? Oh, that one used to keep me up at night. Lord have mercy. I used to say, oh Lord, if I get married and all of a sudden the doctor tells me you can't have kids, I'm gonna die, Lord, I'm gonna die.
I never actually realized that it must be a big fear.
Oh, it was a bit, I was 20 years old.
You're saying it, but
Yeah.
it must be a big fear in people
Yeah, it is.
before they have children.
Absolutely, and I'm very glad to report that on both counts. On both counts, it turned out okay. I married the right girl, and I got kids. We got 4 kids together. Yeah, and you know, her and I'll never forget she had gone to the University of Hull in England.
Yes.
And when she graduated, she had come back here to just say hello to all of her schoolmates. And at the time, I had just come out of a relationship that didn't work. Nothing, she wasn't a bad person. She was a wonderful person, but we just didn't gel, you know. And there are people like that you just don't gel with, you know. And I'd just come out of this relationship, and my wife had come to visit us. And I was so happy to see her. And the moment she walked in my spirit, I thought, there she is. That's the one. We talked, you know, and of course she wasn't thinking that way. She was just saying hello to her old classmate.
Yeah.
When she left, my mother was at the house, and my mother said, you know what? That's a good woman there. And that's the type of woman I would love to see you with.
Oh my goodness.
6 months later, we were married.
No.
Yeah. That was 25 years ago. 25 years ago.
Doesn't happen like that much anymore.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and your kids?
4 kids, and they're great kids.
All here?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Do they help out in the family business?
Not
when
yet,
they've got
no,
time?
because my first one's a doctor. The second one is she's a doctor at UTH. Second one was studying dentistry in China, but because of COVID, he had to come back, so he's doing that here. My third one is a law student. My last one is studying data science. The thing about my kids is that, and this is how God redeemed me, because, I mean, I never considered myself a real super smart person. But through my kids, I've lived vicariously through my kids, because, you know, God gave me these amazing kids, you know. And that's how I felt that, the truth is, even though my father never said it, because my dad was all about encouragement. My dad would never talk down at you. He would never make you feel less than. He always saw the brighter side of things. No matter how much you messed up, he would always say to me, you know what? Turn over a new leaf. It's going to be fine. But deep down in his heart, I always felt he was disappointed that I didn't do it the way he wanted it to be done. He wanted me to study law, then do that, but I didn't do that way. But the redeeming part of it is I see it in my kids, that, you know, through my kids, you know, things, sorry, I started crying.
Oh, come on, Simon. That's incredible. No, that's great. What do they think about your podcasting and how you have become really quite influential? What do they support you on that? Do they help you with it? Are they behind the camera? Are they like, no, Dad, you need to do it like this? Or do they just let you get along with it?
That's a good question. Let me tell you, my kids, especially when I go through controversies, they worry about me.
Right.
Yeah. There's one time my kids, my wife said to me, she said, you know, the kids want to talk to us. And it was like an intervention. You know, all my kids gathered in the living room and they said, Dad, you know what? We worry about you. We worry that people talk about you the way they do. They attack you. Maybe it's time to take a back seat. We don't want to see you hurt. We don't want to hear that your dad's been shot, killed somewhere. So we think that you should sort of maybe take a back seat. And I say to my kids, you know, I'm a social media commentator. That's what I do. Of course, I'm not going to deliberately place myself in harm's way, but that's what I do. And you know, my wife, they're supportive, but they worry. They really do. And that's the truth.
There have been many situations where, of course, they would worry.
Yeah, they worry, and sometimes and to remedy that, they don't watch my content because they don't want to read the comments. Yeah, they say to me, Dad, you know, I can't stomach some of the things people say, and also because of this, my kids are not really present on social media because they don't want to go through school and
being associated,
their friends telling them this, that, and the other. I mean, a couple of times, you know, my daughter who's studying, she's just done law, this is her 4th year. She told me once, she said one of her friends discovered that I was her father and walked up to her and said, why did your dad say this? And my daughter said, well, you know what, you're going to have to talk to my dad about that. Okay? Why don't you go talk to him? Yeah. So that's how they shield themselves.
They've safeguarded themselves from that.
It's not easy to do because being a public figure, that's what they call us, public figures, and and all that. But deeply, I do think about this, and I'm 56 years old now. What I want to go into in the next portion of my life, as I approach 60, is I want to do something like this, where I just sit and talk to people, rather than being on the front lines out in the street, you know, because I'm getting old now, and it's tiring, you know, dodging stones and insults. It gets very tiring.
No, I know, and I mean there was one incident when you were, you know, spent some time put away, when you slashed tires.
Yes. I love it. But here's the story. This is the truth of the story. You know, bus drivers in that area, they always park their buses in front of our building. And for years we've had this problem. And for years we've engaged the Bus Driver Association. Look, please tell your drivers not to do this, because when they park, they block the gates. We can't leave. We can only leave when they decide to drive off. So this particular evening, I said to my guards, deflate the tires, meaning release the air from the tires, so that he knows not to do this. What are those jokers, the driver and the conductor? What do? Because the tires were bald, they were worn out. They said, oh, Mwewa has done this, let's puncture the tires and then make him buy new tires. So the owner of the bus came to me.
This is a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, this is what I go through.
Every day.
So the guy comes to me and says, hey, listen, man, the word he used was "mabola matayas." Okay, you punctured them.
Yeah.
I said, no, I deflated them. He couldn't understand the difference. I said, hey, mabola, right? I said, no. I said, I deflated, not puncture. There's a difference. So no, and he gave me a quotation. This is almost 6,000 kwacha. Immediately, I said, oh, I see what you're doing here. You're trying to extort money from me. You want me to buy you brand new tires for something that you've done. I'm not doing it. Oh, I'm going to take you to court. I said, take me to court. Now, I didn't want to hire a lawyer because I'd spend minimum 15,000 kwacha just for the lawyer. He wants 6,000. Why would I spend 15,000 when I know he wanted to extort money from me? We go to court. They messed up their own testimony. I decided to be silent. I remember the judge, and it was only in retrospect that I realized what the judge was saying to me. When it came time for me to give my side of the story, I was silent. The judge turned to me and said, Mr. Mwewa, you've been charged with malicious damage, which is a very serious offense. Is there anything you'd like to say in your defense? I said, nothing. And he looked at me and said, Mr. Mwewa, are you sure? I said, yeah. In my mind, because their testimony was already conflicting, I thought the judge would see that. When he sentenced me to 6 months, I was so shocked. When I got to the prison and I shared my story, the prisoner said, well, that's where you made the mistake. You were silent. You should have given your side of the story. By you being silent, the judge felt that you were probably hiding something. And that's why he sentenced
So you got advice in the prison?
In the prison, yeah. And it was in that moment that I realized silence is not golden. Sometimes. Yeah.
Well, there you go, actually.
Yeah. I was there for 6 days, and it was quite, but you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, because initially I went to Kamwala.
Yes.
And Kamwala was, I was scared to go there because, you know, I just wasn't sure what I'd find there. But everybody in there was so kind to me. They gave me a nice mattress. I spent one night there. The following morning, the warden comes to me and says, Mr. Mwewa, we have been instructed to send you to Mwembeshi because apparently someone thinks you'll be more comfortable there. I said, why do I have to? He said, no, just pack your things there. 2 people coming to pick you up. So a vehicle comes, 2 officers in plain clothes, suits, a woman and a man. And they said, Mr. Mwewa, we're here to pick you up. We're going to take you to Mwembeshi. You know, it was a Land Cruiser. So I sat in the back. We drove off. They pulled out my phone, handed it to me. I said, Mr. Mwewa, you can call whoever you want. The only thing, don't go live or we lose our jobs.
Don't start streaming now.
Don't start streaming here. Yeah, so I called my family. I told them where it was. I got to Mwembeshi. It was a beautiful facility. Beautiful. The only thing, though, is that it's not well funded in terms of food. Because if you don't have someone bringing you food,
yeah.
the prison food there, it's inhumane. They have, for morning meals, breakfast, they have what they call, it's samp, you know, But their type of samp is so overboiled that the moment you put it in your mouth, it literally just melts. You don't even chew it. It just melts in your mouth. Tasteless. And then for lunch, they only have 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch. Technically, they're supposed to have 3. They only have 2. Lunch is something called daga. Ever heard of daga?
No.
It's a type of kapenta. More stone than anything else. I mean, literally, you're chewing stone.
Crunching.
Yeah, crunching stone. And within Shima, that's it. So if you don't have a support system, you're doomed.
So look, you've survived many incidences, so I can again understand how your family is
Worried. Yes.
And looking forward, you're saying, I mean, you do a very diligent job getting information out there. Your podcast has got thousands of followers up, and I don't know how many, maybe millions. And you're seeing yourself maybe just taking a back seat at some point.
Yeah.
Really finish on that.
Yeah, in the next 3 or 4 years, I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
I have
Come sit.
Yeah, I want to do this. I've got a space there at Simulson Building.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn into a little studio, just to sit and relax and talk to people the way you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like a Dan Rather sort of deal, where you just, not being on the front lines, because I'm tired of the front lines.
No, I mean, when I hear your stories and it's every day there's going to be something, of course you've had be tired, but you've done a fabulous job for the CBD.
Thank you.
So now you're going to take a back seat in the next couple of years, but you've done some really amazing stuff.
Thank you.
And I want to ask, what do you see that Zambians respond to on your podcasts, on your conversations? What do you see, like spikes, the likes, and what do they see that you're doing?
Well, not just mine.
Yeah.
Every single platform on social media, in the social media space, Zambians respond to innuendo and gossip. That is what piques Zambians' interest. Because if you talk about the economic situation in Zambia, nobody talks about that. If you talk about climate change, nobody talks about that. But if you talk about someone who slept with someone's wife, oh honey, you're going to get so many people on there. And we're a society, it's a human condition, I think. It's not just Zambian, it's a human condition.
Yeah.
People respond to that sort of thing more than anything else.
No, it's true actually. I mean, when you find what's happening on, we want to know about film stars and the bad side of it, and someone's taking somebody to court. And that's.
And also here, and also politics in Zambia, politics. The innuendo of the political space in Zambia is only because it's so contentious.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you must, looking at your work, you do a lot of research, you do a lot of reading, so you pick up a lot of content, and then how do you plan it? You're like, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow, this is what I want to speak about, but you must collect a lot of information.
Well, if I'm doing what I call these talking heads, I've got the camera in my office.
Yes.
I do a little bit of reading so that I know what I'm talking about, but usually I don't follow a script. I just have bullet points, and then I go with that. And I try to keep my I call them dissertations. I try to keep them under 25 minutes because I've noticed on social media, everything for me is based on what I would feel. I can't watch something for an hour unless it's a movie. Yeah, but if I'm listening to people talk, I'll take it in snippets. 25 minutes I feel is a good time.
People are going to watch you for an hour. I'm telling you this right now. Yeah.
So that's to answer your question. I do a bit of research and then I do my thing and then I'm out of there.
Yeah. And then what's you were leading the Icon. Tell me a little bit about that.
I love that. David Kazadi, who I consider to be one of the greatest filmmakers in this country, approached me. He called me one day.
As they do?
Yeah, as they do. He says to me, we're doing the show and we want you to be. And I said, Dave, and because he called me, I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever it is, yes. Because I know the type of quality he brings to any project. And, we walked, he invited me in. My concern was the way I would look, because I'm not very fashionable. I'm not into fashion.
But you're very present.
Well, thank you.
You're very present, and you present well on screen. Yes.
Thank you. And that was my concern. I told him, I said, I want to do it, but are you gonna do my wardrobe? Because I don't know how to do all
So
that.
tell me about the program. What is it?
It was a talent show.
Yeah.
Yes, it was like Idols.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was the host of it. And going in very early on, I was very worried that I wouldn't do a good job, because I've never done anything like that. Yeah, but he was very encouraging. And when you're working with someone that has a clear vision of what
Yes.
they want, they sort of transfer that to you, that energy to
Yes.
you. And he was always high energy.
Yeah.
It has to be done, and not just done, but done at this level. So he always brought his A game. And so all of us, not just myself, the judges, the guys who were shooting, everybody was on point.
Yeah, no, you've got a great producer, director
Yeah.
that can really translate.
And I loved it. It was hard work because it was very demanding, but I really enjoyed it. And this season 2, they're going with a different host, which is normal, because you want that diversity.
Yes.
You want that fluidity.
Yes.
And I'm confident that whoever David chooses as the next host will bring the same sort of energy to the
awesome.
project. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, something I'm still really fascinated about is the pastoral side to you. I haven't really gotten in there.
Yeah.
Where does it sit with you right now? Where does it sit in your life, in your home, in your children, on your Sundays, in your daily life? Where is that? Spiritual.
Well, I am a Christian. I'm an active Christian.
Yeah.
One of the things that I used to beat myself over the head over was I felt guilty for not having gone into the ministry. And for years I battled with that. Especially, I come from a Judeo-Christian sort of background where people will throw scripture in your face and say, the calling of God is without repentance, and you're called of God, you're a man of the cloth, they say that to you constantly. And so for me, the way I reconciled that was I decided that you don't always have to stand behind a pulpit in order to be a Christian.
No.
Yeah,
not at all.
you don't always have to stand behind a pulpit in order to preach the message of the cross. Your life can be a testimony.
Yeah.
Although I must tell you, I'm not the greatest example, though. I will be honest with you. But that's just the truth.
And that's just between us?
Yeah. And them. Yeah, but to answer your question, the way I reconciled it was, you don't always have to be standing behind a pulpit to preach the gospel. Your life can be a testimony.
It's a testimony.
Yeah.
I believe that, and I have had a number of people on this, because I'm very curious about how religion or spirituality has evolved in this very fast-moving world, and how people are taking it with them, especially our generation, where it was really such a key part of your upbringing, and also more so those before us, and just looking at how people are now handling that in a very different world and translating that to their children. So I find it really, really fascinating, and I've heard similar answers from others who have said, actually, you know what, at this point, it's about how I live my life. It's not about being seen at church and wearing a Catholic Women's League chikwembe,
Chikwembe. I love it.
No, it's about how I live my life, and it's in different ways. Yeah, no, I love that. No, I love that. For me, Simon, this has been a great morning, and you've really taught me a lot. And I think we touched some areas that, I'm pleased I touched. And
Thank you.
I think you probably heard bits of yourself that you didn't expect to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really appreciative for that. And thank you for sharing, deep
Thank
parts
you for
of you.
talking to me.
Thank you so much.
Sycamore. There's no us without you, so we